And gradually, we'll be doing good Goju Randori that is reflective of the beauty of our style, both hard and gentle, rolled into one and never ever stopping. Onegaishimasu. Welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. Without any further ado, let's get on with some basic ideas for Randori, kind of build on what we were doing the other day. Okay, hi, Brian, please come help. Onegaishimasu. Okay, Brian, put 2 hands out. So our first idea, our partner is going to be standing with 2 hands, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the side. And again, I'm working towards trying to develop the ability to move to the side, come back. Side, come back. This is a very basic idea, and it's going to work in conjunction with my hands. So at first, block, grab, control. We were doing a lot of pressing down last week. Come back, block, grab, and control. As I move, block, grab, control. Thinking maybe you're doing Sisoshin Bunkai, maybe you're coming over, maybe even doing Seppai. So there's a couple of ideas of how to entangle your hands and to build on it. So the more advanced your belt and the more likely you're learning a more advanced grabbing sequence, you can work on it. So block, grab, maybe yellow belt, kick side dai ich, kick side dai ni. From the other side. So we can start building the idea of immediately there is some kind of technique that is taking place. As you become a higher belt, you should have more and more options as you go along. And you can just build and build and build. But the idea is that moving along the outside. Okay? So idea number 1, working on hike-uke, grabbing and seizing afterwards, because we do not want to have, Brian, relax for a second, and a punch, snappy punch, like Kasamazuki or jab. We don't want, come on, fast punch, fast punch. All right, so he's doing a fast punch, trying to catch it. It's virtually impossible, okay? If he's throwing 1 punch and I'm missing, chances are he's going to crack me with his second one. So the idea that we want to work, and this is where we start testing ourselves at speed, is that that's hardly ever going to work. So the idea, hopefully, is that as he throws a punch, we try and move. Once we're in this position, now, what do we do? Get on tetsui, do we shift, do we do elbow, do we pull down, do we pull down, do we do gikisade ich, do we do sisoshin, and this is how we've got to train. So once you start getting the idea of static, then your partner starts throwing the punches. And not, definitely not. Okay, that is a step, but it's not where we want to get to. We don't want to get to the point where it's as fast and as strong and as static at the end of the technique. We want it to be a natural occurring punch. And then to be able to grab and to seize. This is the escalation, the development over time that we're looking for. So arms out, first layer, moving and just getting the block. 1, 2, 3, and bring the other hand up, having it ready. That's level 1. Level number 2, build onto it with a counter and polish the counter. So for the sake of the camera, I'm doing the same thing. Maybe I'm doing sisoshin and I'm stepping. Maybe I'm doing seiyunshin or gedan tetsui from gikisade ich. Maybe I'm doing gikisade ich. Right? I'm working on whatever I can do from this angle. Okay? There are a number of options, and you start to work and to polish them. Maybe the next level after that, instead of going left, right, left, right, left, right, he throws in any random order. Okay? And so we build the exercise. We can take this for any height. Okay? So that's our first set of drills. And then obviously the last level is as fast as possible and trying to work that one movement and to polish it and to polish it and to try see how to make it best. Obviously, Randori starts slowly. Hey, Brian, let's move on. Brian's slow punches, aiming for my solar plexus. Please be vigilant of the recording device here. Okay, so Brian is doing slow punches, and he's just trying to keep a rhythm. So maybe you use a metronome inside the dojo, and the person is just, you're hearing a clicker or something. And I'm now, like a tournament fighter, just going to watch, take big picture, not watch. Okay, and okay, and we just run through this for a couple of minutes. I'd like to liken this exercise to kind of like hike-uke and trying to develop sensitivity. This drill is to help you develop the confidence to block, to work towards going to the inside. And there is a very important reason to have both facets. And it's quite simple. Outside is much safer. Inside, there are more options. There are more choices of targets, and some of the targets will be better for hitting and striking than, let's say, a similar kind of target on the outside. And it's important to have the best of both worlds. A lot of people don't like going to the outside because the footwork is really difficult, and some people don't like ever being on the inside because of the fear of that second attack and that kick. We're now going to embrace moving to the inside. Brian, let's go. So his hands are up, and we're going to be blocking and moving to the inside and drawing in. So block and drawing in. This is important. This is probably one of the most neglected blocks in the Goju system. Seiyunchin and Kururumfa. All right? But it's a basic idea in grappling. So the moment we can do this, this is great. Okay? And we're just working this idea. This is part one. Part two, when I do this, something else must happen. Must happen. Must happen. We're trying to block and to grab. So this is one idea for Randori. So we're engaging and we're doing this. Now the punches start again. We go to another level. And so Brian punches, 1. And he punches, 2. Now you can add the little tap to block and the arm to reach at the source. So go slowly, pull this hand back so the camera can see. He punches. I want to tap, block, move to source. Sensei Chinen would always say, make sure. And now, whatever you like, all right, whether it is clean or dirty, it doesn't matter. It's Randori, anything goes. So first idea. Okay, so let's go back to our continuous punching drill. Okay, so Brian is punching, and you would have noticed that, come on, punching. A lot of the time, I'm just trying to put a hand in the way. Sometimes I might make a mistake. I've just repeated the same mistake over and over again. Now, punch and stop, please, Brian. Sometimes people do this. Yes, it's missing, maybe a good tai sabake here. But the reality is they're trying to get this, and that is probably the likelihood. So please, when you're doing this exercise, be vigilant of some of the ideas where you may be endangering yourself. So, 1, punching again, outside, 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 outside. His punch is missing me clearly, outside, cross. I'm trying to explore all the ideas of blocking. Now, very good idea. A lot of people want to work towards the end of the arm. So as we're going, let's go slow again, Brian. We're going, try and get to the source. So the source is the shoulder. So as he punches, instead of going here, punch Brian, I got him a little bit closer to the shoulder, which means a smaller touch, slightly bigger deflection. He punches. Imagine if I can get there. Look at how easy it is to redirect him. So this is an idea in getting to the shoulder and getting to the source of the technique. So the next technique comes. He's already missing. I've just stopped him. If I'd stepped in and put my body weight behind it, something else would have happened. Obviously, that hand is there. It's ready to fire, and so is the legs, etc. So we can work on this idea. We can take the same idea and work on the kicking. So kicking to the groin. Kick straight, Brian. Kick straight. Okay, so my partner practices aim and target. And I could be practicing this from maybe a little further back. So you're going to kick and aim for there. And maybe we're doing a visual exercise of training, trying to have 20/20 view. Brian, you're looking at the big picture, but getting your foot to the target. I'm looking at this, so go kicking, go one. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn how to block the kick from a visual point of view. I'm trying to recognize the kick as a threat so that I know I need to do something. All right, when I come a bit closer and Brian is kicking, obviously I don't want to be trying to block down all the time. What tends to happen is, should he ever pull the kick, if he wisens up and he just throw the kick like a decoy, and I do this, I've brought my face closer to him. So I don't want too much downward blocking, but I do want the idea of, let's go, kicking Brian. Start on the outside. It's usually a bit better. Okay, if it's a big swing at first, that's okay. And then gradually try to put your hands and attach it to your hip. Once you get your hip and your hand working together, move. Okay, hip and hand, move. And try and move in and alongside your opponent. Obviously, I brought in the idea of two hands the last time, so he kicks one, or two, depending on what I want to do. My background, when I was doing a little bit of sport karate, the idea would be that as he kick would be this explosion forward, hitting the person to try and score point. Now, it has value and it has merit, but that doesn't really happen in real fights. Now, it doesn't help Brian kick skew. It doesn't help if your partner does this. So when you're training with your partner, you have to have that agreement that you're both there to work. However, I need to know that every time, kick Brian, I miss, if he touches, that could be the end of me. Try relax, bend your knees, go light on the balls of your feet, because this is going to facilitate your movement. And we start off with the kicking. Go, Brian. And we add in our hip. And I move. Next idea, more like gedambarai. So he's kicking, and now I want to kind of pull. And obviously you can see immediately the cheat is that because I'm doing this, my hand naturally wants to catch his feet. Move your body a little bit away. All right? So we don't want to be caught in the idea of staying in line. The goal is never to remain in line and do this in Randori. But reality is that maybe if he is kicking one and I go here, I've now attacked by stepping in. Okay? Some of the best ideas in Randori, from a simple point of view, let's go hands up. Brian decides to kick. I decide to block down. And at the same time, just doing something simple like a kick to the groin. So you're fighting and the person kicks, you block down and you're kicking. Obviously, this hand you have to be vigilant of. And so he kicks one. This hand is somehow up. So as he kicks, one. And just playing with the idea. And this is the idea you should be having with this. It's quite easy. A lot of the time, you will see good defense of this front foot. Growing up in our dojo, front foot maigiri was not a very, very common technique that we used in a lot of our randori, but it tended to be something that you used like maybe jabbing for the sake of jabbing, just to keep a person away from you. So it was often frowned upon because it was this kind of defensive move back and kick and holding the person at bay. It has its place. But if you can escalate it a little bit, if you can tweak it a little bit, if you can improve your comfort in your blocking and the immediate block seizing and that kicking into the groin, it gives you a little bit of an advantage for something else, especially if the person is doing kicks that you are able to block quite comfortably with your hand. And you're quite easy getting your hand down. So it's this relaxed get umbrella. All right, so we're going to finish off with a hand clap game that we often play in the dojo. And it's kind of like when you see the kids doing what my friend calls patty cakes. All right? And it's something that we've been doing for a long time in our dojo, based on blocking. All right, so if you've ever done forearm conditioning, typical Goju conditioning, the idea here is playing, but clapping hands. Hey, Brian, come back, please. We're going to do 1, 2, back of your hand, 3. 1, 2, 3. The secret is to pivot and rotate off the elbow. When you bring the next hand in, don't try and overpower it. Just make sure there's enough to stick. Thanks, Brian. Hey, Shimas. This is our drill to try and improve our handwork and our coordination. And now you start seeing the idea of one hand doing multiple blocks at multiple heights. The next thing is just quite common sense. My opponent starts punching at different heights. And I am watching and moving and trying my best to block. I always think it's not finished by blocking, but that block is the first part in moving, and now there is a natural escalation. We're here, and Brian is now doing any height, and I now need to switch on. Let's just take a little bit step this way, Brian, some more camera sight. And I've got my hands up. We start off slow, so Brian's going in any random order. I've got to watch. Okay, so we go, whoa. So at this point, I'm very much on the end of the blocking technique. Carry on, Brian. I'm now going to try and slowly get my hand in there to kind of control his center line and make sure that I'm trying to stick the whole time. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong, sometimes the punch whistles right towards my face, and that in itself is a reality check. From time to time, allow the other hand, come on, Brian, vary it, Brian, vary it. There we go, Brian. Come on, Brian, straight punches, Brian. If I mess up, I'm just relying purely on your control. And then from there, the real idea of what would be good Goju would be this kind of sensitivity training and governing the center line and using my axis of rotation to deflect. There's the Tai Sabaki. As the next attacker comes, there's the Tai Sabaki. I'm still using one hand only. That means this hand is actually free to be doing different things. And that would automatically become the next step. Now, what you tend to find is that people over a period of time will end up doing the most basic and the most rehearsed thing, which ends up being punch, 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 punch. It's what we do the most. We practice it the most. So if that's the case, we tend to draw on it more than anything else. So we're here, Brian is punching. Okay. All right. Sometimes if you're like going and your partner's waiting for you, it's because he's such a nice guy. But you should try and get rid of that as an action. And it's great that Brian has shown that particular action tonight because it is so common. And it's one of the things that we actually have to try and gradually edge away from. And the faster we get away from it, the better, because what it's going to do is it's going to make us more honest in whether or not we're getting it right, and that we don't have an inflated ego. Every mistake that I've made tonight in countering and in blocking is when I have tried to do something bigger and to have a movement that has crossed over too much of the line. So a good example was Brian punched low, I went low, and then I tried to go across the line, and at that point, he wanted to punch, but he checked it because I was still coming in. And so you should be cognizant of the idea that if you make this kind of mistake, you need to somehow eradicate it. So maybe the better option would be that he's punching low and I'm immediately hitting. Bearing in mind that at this point we're static. Now, take this drill and work on it and combine it with the footwork that we did in the last drill, and you're basically starting to do Randori. At a very basic, very simple level, you can start doing Randori with a partner and building. Hey, thank you very much, Brian. To sum up tonight, various levels of sensitivity training to help facilitate your growth into Randori. Yes, you're still not fighting just yet. However, the more you train and you facilitate each other's growth, the better you will both become. It is systematic. Don't start with the idea that everybody needs to be able to do Randori from the word go in the beginning. Let's say a brand new white belt or a novice is joining your club and you're throwing them into the mill straight away. It is very important, however, to introduce realistic drills and realistic training from the word go. The more you can do this, the better your student will develop and also develop confidence in what they're doing. Allow people the time to develop. Over the years, I've come across many karate instructors who are working on a time frame that doesn't make sense. It's the only way to put it politely. They are working on the idea that you need to have it correct yesterday, but you only started today. And with that in mind, you never get time to bring that information in and to digest it and to kind of work through it. Something that I find very, very important is that some of the stuff that we're doing now has to be done with a partner. Some of it can be done with a random person. Sometimes you may have the benefit of having wonderful equipment. Maybe you have a mannequin that's 2 baseball bats and a big log that allow you to block and to move. Maybe you have a partner who you can train with that you can work with. As a young guy, my mom used to try and help me. She's only yay big. And my poor mom would hold pillows so I could hit pillows and develop my skills. But sometimes you don't have this option. So these drills, you can't go home and practice. So my point is, sometimes you need time in the dojo because that's the only time you train with your partner. It brings me back to a point I made a couple of videos ago, or last week possibly. There are 3 reasons to go to the dojo. 1 is to receive correction from the sensei. 2 is to train with a partner and to do partner work. And 3 is to utilize equipment in the dojo so that you can benefit from the equipment that the dojo owns that you might not actually possess. Some of our equipment is really old. Some of our equipment has been passed on from one instructor to another instructor. In our dojo, we have a Kongo Ken that is 2 generations old. In fact, all my Konkokens are 2 generations old, if not 3. So it's very, very important to bear this in mind. As an instructor, give people the time to develop these skills. The longer they do it, the more they can develop. Don't rush, be patient, and build and build and build. And the more we can do this, the more we grow our students, we grow ourselves, and the more we can do it in our own training, and the more we can practice it, the more muscle memory we develop over time. And gradually, we'll be doing good Goju Randori that is reflective of the beauty of our style, both hard and gentle, rolled into one and never ever stopping. It's like raindrops falling on a tin roof, and you just keep on going. That's it. Thank you for joining the Goju Karate Center. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And those people who have joined our memberships, as well as those people who have dropped us super thank yous, we are most appreciative. Thank you very much, and stay safe. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Sayonara.